How are you doing, voice heads? This is Ian Temple Campbell, aka Voice Head. I am here with Lara Chapman. She is a singing teacher slash vocal coach. She has over 1 million followers online, founder of Voxtape Studios. Born in Switzerland, her passion for music led her to New York, where she studied musical theater and acting in film and TV. Later honed her skills in the music business, songwriting, and vocal performance at Berklee College of Music in Boston. While completing her degree, Lara signed a management deal, moved to Nashville. However, after experiencing a vocal injury from her many gigs due to a lack of sustainable technique, discovered her true calling, helping other singers find freedom in their voices. Now, as the founder of Voxtape Studios, she empowers singers, making singing effortless and protect their vocal instrument health without compromising their artistry. Her mission is to ensure every singer can fully express themselves with confidence and ease. All right. Thank you very much. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, and glad to be here.
Yeah. Let's talk about the origins of Voxtape. But we covered it vaguely. When did you found the company, and tell me about your journey with that?
You know, it's so funny. We all remember 2020, right? I mean,
Oh, yeah.
who can not remember that year?
Oh, yeah.
And so I remember spending New Year's in Costa Rica with my family.
Oh, lovely.
And I was like, all right, I'm gonna create these online courses and it's gonna be amazing. And I didn't have a name for it yet. So this was like January 1st, right, of 2020. I was like, all right, this is gonna be amazing. And then a couple months later, COVID hit. And I was like, no, too early. I am not ready yet with my new business. Who knew that it was gonna last for freaking ever? So, long story short, I founded Voxtape in 2020. It officially became a thing in August of 2020. So, we're creeping up on 5 years.
Wow. So how long had you been teaching voice before Voxtape in 2020?
Not full time, but on and off. I was teaching lessons out of my home or through back then Skype. Now we use Zoom, but Zoom wasn't really a thing pre-pandemic.
Oh, you just reminded me to enable original sound for musicians. It's a good
there you go.
opportunity to do that. Okay. Okay. So, question. So you actually, similar to myself, you started acting. You wanted to be an actor before you wanted to be a singer. Is that accurate?
Well, actually, no. So I am from Switzerland originally, and musical theater is an American art form. We have musical theater in Switzerland, but it's not as big of a deal as it is here in the US. I live in the US now. I've been here for 10 years. But I didn't quite understand how pop music and musical theater music was very different. So in my mind, when I applied for a musical theater program, I was like, oh yeah, why not act, sing, and dance and learn all of these things? That's going to be helpful, in a pop career too. So I'm just going to do that. And then, I arrived in New York. I went to the New York Film Academy and, did their musical theater program. And I was like, oh, this is very, very different from the kind of music that I usually sing and like to listen to. So I was a little bit
sorry, you mind if I jump in there? So what was the difference? Can you unpack that? Was that style or just what was the difference? What was the culture shock there for you?
I was 18 and moved from Switzerland to New York by myself. I loved it. Wow. It was amazing. So, that was definitely an adjustment, but it was mostly obviously the style of music is very different, and I didn't know that. If you look at some of the more classical musical theater, like pre-60s, we have more of the "When I Marry Mr. Snow," and I'm just like, oh my god, I don't want to sing like that. What's happening?
Oh, that's interesting. Sorry, I would have thought that you would have been more used to. I would imagine, just being from Europe, you would be more used to a more kind of operatic style, and that the culture shock would be everybody singing twang, so that was interesting.
Yeah, my voice teacher back in Switzerland, I was with her for 7 years before I moved to the US, and she was classically trained. but sorry, there you go. But I did pop with her, so I, every so often I would do a classical song, but just because I really liked that song, like Carmen. I really liked one of those songs, but anyways, it was mostly pop is what I like to do. Like I wanted to do Christina Aguilera and
Right.
Beyonce, and not Mr. Snow.
Yes. Okay.
So yeah, and even just energy wise as well. Like theater kids are different people.
Yes.
And
For sure.
it's nothing wrong or bad or anything like that. I just did not feel at home in that environment. It was just not for me. I still did my 2-year program. It was a 2-year program. I did the entire thing and I learned so much from it. And I'm very glad that I have this experience. But if you listen to me sing, I am not a musical theater singer and I don't enjoy it as much as contemporary stuff. So that's why I then went to Berkeley because
Got
I
it.
was like, no, like I gotta do contemporary. I can't stay in musical theater world. It's not for me.
Interesting. Now, was Berkeley, they were more amenable? Did you felt like more people around you were like, okay, yeah, we're doing pop.
So, I mean, there is definitely a little bit of that, ooh, pop music, boring, like that kind of like stigma there, but mostly for instrumentalists, like for
Yes.
guitarists or drummers or whatever, they mostly had that, "Ugh, another pop singer, how boring."
Right.
But that's, a little bit misinformed, I believe, because pop music
yeah.
can be a lot of fun no matter what instrument you play.
Preaching to the choir.
And yeah, so and pop meaning just anything contemporary, rock, pop, R&B, soul, funk, all of the above, right? Country as well. So yeah, that's what I wanted to do, and Berkeley is definitely a much better place for that than a musical theater school. So they don't have a musical theater program. They are now actually I don't think they're merged, but they're collaborating somehow with Boston Conservatory, and
Interesting.
they have a musical theater program. So
Yes.
I was a part of a musical in Boston, which is so funny. I auditioned for one and got the lead, and they all thought that I was a Boston Conservatory student, not a Berkeley student, because they were like, your resume, everything is so professional. No, I went to musical theater school in New York. That's where I learned that stuff. But I'm here at Berkeley now, and I want to do contemporary. I
Yes.
still did that musical because it was a contemporary musical. It was fun. But
Okay.
anyways.
Awesome. So how did you feel about your training at Berkeley overall?
So I mean, they even tell you that when you first get there. They say that the classes that you take there should only be about 30% of what you do at Berkeley. Like you should be collaborating with others, you should be recording at the studio, you should be playing gigs, all of that. I wasn't allowed to play gigs because I was on a student visa, meaning I could not work. And so
What?
I was not allowed, yeah, I was not allowed to play shows outside of the school.
You weren't allowed to get paid, or you weren't allowed to even perform?
So if you're performing for free, you can, but only if it's like the kind of job where nobody gets paid and nobody ever gets paid. Not we just make an exception and don't pay you because you're a foreigner. It has to always be an unpaid position. And that's just kind of stupid. And there's not many of those. So I just had limited performance opportunities.
Got it.
Because of my student, like my foreigner status, essentially, my student visa. But the classes were fun. The teachers were great. But it's like the stuff that you learn is really kind of what you do outside of the classes, not what you do your classes. Obviously that is important, but more important stuff is happening outside of the class.
So I guess I asked that because part of your story is you got like this kind of big break in when you went to Nashville. You're like recording an album and you're going on tour, and then kind of disaster starts to creep in. Was there like an incident, or was there like it was just kind of this collective thing where you're just like, I can't do what I did yesterday? Or what was that like about finding that your technique wasn't supporting what you were setting out to do?
Well, it was a gradual thing. So I was performing a lot when I, first graduated from Berkeley and started doing performance and music and all that stuff full time, I was performing a lot. And, most of the time I would feel fine, but then every so often I was like, oh, okay, my throat's starting to hurt. I have to cancel a gig. But, at first it started with canceling just one gig and then you're back the next day. And then eventually that turned into, I'm out for a couple days and then I'm out for a couple weeks until one day I was gone. Like I could not even speak for 4 weeks. And I was like, okay, this is not good. And I was really scared. I really thought that I was never going to be able to sing again. I did, in fact, have vocal nodules. My laryngologist, Dr. Wood, she called them vocal pre-nodules because they were really early stages and quite small still. So I got lucky there, but still I had a vocal injury and Dr. Wood told me, like, you're going to be fine. You don't need surgery. We'll do some speech therapy. You're going to be just fine, but you're going to have to make some changes. And I was like, okay. And that's when I went really, really deep into, sustainability in singing and not just, singing.
And I'm sure you found that made you a better singer as well.
Oh,
Would
yeah.
you say that?
100%. I mean, after just a couple of weeks, I was not only able to get my voice back, but I was singing better than I did before. Because when you're singing from a freedom place, like where it's, it doesn't feel stuck or you don't have to push to reach a certain note or whatever, like your range expands, you can belt higher and still be powerful, your vocal agility improves, like everything gets better. When singing feels good, you sound better, you can do more things. And so yeah, that was obviously a big, big, big help for everything that I did in singing.
Awesome. So what would be the mistake in with hindsight? What would be the thing that you would tell yourself going through that, going a little bit beyond just like train more or like practice more? Like what to get really granular technical?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it wasn't a lack of practice. It was mostly just doing it wrong way. I would say the biggest thing is stop cutting corners and pay attention to what singing feels like. Like, it's not going to get easier. In my mind, I was always like, yeah, I can belt that note. Like, it's coming out. Let's be real. I was yelling on pitch. Okay. But whatever.
I do rock. It's kind of, yeah.
Like, okay, I'm hitting the note. I'm there. And, just thinking with time, it's going to get easier. Like, it's going to feel easier to hit that note. And I get it. Like, I get where that thought process comes from.
Kind of intuitive, yeah.
Yeah, but it just was not the case. Like, it would never get easier because I was just pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. And, you're like, okay, well, it's okay. I'll push just for this note. Okay, whatever. Let's cut that corner. Well, that's not going to serve you in the long term because let's say the next song, you have to go a half step higher. There's no chance you're going to be able to push even further and further and further. Like, you can only push your voice so far. So cutting these corners, you're really just shooting yourself in the foot in the long term. It might work in the short term. It's not going to work in the long term. Even if you don't develop a vocal injury, your vocal skills are just, you're going to feel stuck at some point and you can't get better and you don't know why.
100%. Yeah. So, I mean, we always say, make sure that you're not using airflow to drive pitch. Don't use airflow to push pitch up. You got to make sure that at least in the practice space that you're working to get, kind of have like a neutral airflow and that everything, pitch wise is happening in the throat. I mean, I have a weird mixed thing about when people are like, oh, don't sing from your throat. You want to sing from your stomach. Don't sing from your throat. But it's like there's so much happening here. You can't just be like, I don't have a throat. I don't have a throat.
Yeah. You are singing from your throat. That's where your vocal folds are. You are singing from your throat. But I get it, exactly. I mean, I have told that to students as well. Like, be careful. Like, you don't want to feel stuck in your throat, right? Like, it's just like something's closing off, things like that. But don't sing from your throat. Well, that's not very accurate because that's where we are singing from. But you got to meet the student where they're at, right?
Yes.
If saying don't sing from your throat helps them, awesome. Like, who am I to judge, right?
100%.
But technically, not how it works.
Yes. Question: do you think that there's anything that your teachers, either at Berkeley or Academy of Film, your training that you'd gotten before, could have said or taught you that would have made things more clear to you? Or do you think you were just kind of like young and gunning and ready to rearing to go, and would have probably ended up in the same spot?
Yeah, I think about that a lot, because every time I tell people, you know, my story, they're like, how has no one stopped you? Like, you know, like, why didn't no one ever say anything and be like, girl, like, let's sit down. This is going to be a major issue if you keep going down this route. Like, I'm here to help you, and, you know, not here to be like, you can't belt anymore. But no one did. Or maybe they did, but I wasn't ready to hear it, you know, because so like I think about that a lot, and I'm like, even if they had told me, whatever, English, you know what I'm trying to say. Even if they told me, like, I don't know if I would have been ready to hear it, because you're young and dumb, you know, and you think you know better. And for me, it was like, well, Christina Aguilera is belting, and Beyonce is belting, and Demi Lovato is belting. Like, why can't I? Like, I want to do the same thing. And it's not about not belting or belting. That's not what it's about. It's about doing it in a sustainable way. And I don't know if I would have been ready to hear it.
Yep.
No.
Okay. Let's move forward. So at what point now, are you still releasing original music?
I stopped in 2020, you know, when the pandemic hit. I was already working on Voxtape, you know, pre-pandemic. So I was already planning on putting a lot more energy into coaching versus being the artist myself. I just preferred that lifestyle a lot more. I had a lot of bad experiences in the industry as well, where I was like, this is no. And honestly, I went through a whole existential like life crisis because of that, because my entire life, I remember being 12 years old telling my parents, one day I'm going to move to the United States because I'm going to be a singer. Like, that was always what I was going to do. And then I did it. And then I was like, I don't love it. And I don't know if I'm willing to make the sacrifices it takes to have a career in this.
And you don't want to disappoint the 12-year-old you for having different dreams.
Yeah, well, and disappoint everybody else. Like, you know how, like, I'm so fortunate. My parents were so supportive, and, you know, like, just, they wanted me to pursue my dreams, and they had the financial ability to do so as well. You know how much money they spent for me to be able to go to these schools, these elite schools? Like, that costs a lot of money.
A lot of plane tickets, just for starters.
Well, and freaking an apartment in New York City. Yeah. And in Boston, like, it's expensive. So, you know, it's like, oh my God, like, I don't want to disappoint anyone. And, you know, I don't want people to look at me like I gave up, you know, like I couldn't cut it, so I gave up and now I'm a voice teacher. You know, I had all of these fears in my head, but in my heart, I was like, but it's not what I want to do. Like, it's not like I'm giving up because it's too hard. It's like, I just don't want to. So I went through a whole like crisis there. What was the question?
It was, you answered it. I don't remember what the question was, but you definitely answered it. Let's unpack what that discovery was for you. Did you like have a conversation with somebody, or did you read a book, or what was the process for you, just kind of like discovering? Would you say it's like you discovered your destiny, or you kind of decided and created this? I don't know. How do you just unpack that, like, one more layer?
That is such a great question. You know, I think, so I went for it, right? And I launched Voxtape, and I started creating content on social media, and, you know, I was just putting it out there while still, you know, having songs that I was still releasing, because I think my most recent songs didn't come out until 2021. Like, I wrote them and had them all done in 2019, but they didn't come out until 2021 because experiences. Anyways, we don't need to go into that. But I was doing all this stuff as Voxtape, right? As Voxtape Studios. And then I had videos go viral on social media. And that's when that's what really put Voxtape on the map. And not everyone, but a lot of people wanted to start working with me. And, you know, I had all these online courses and I was like, I'm just going to sell online courses and memberships and it's going to be great. But they wanted to work with me one-on-one. And I was like, okay, well, I guess we're going to, you know, do that again. And we're going to start doing one-on-one lessons. And
so one-on-one for singing lessons. So people were hearing your music and be like, I want you to teach me how to sing like you.
No, they were seeing my singing exercises.
Oh, got it. Okay.
My vocal coaching content. Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
okay.
Honestly, like it's so funny because I hated creating content as an artist. And as a voice teacher, it came so easily to me. That is another thing that shows you there's some sort of misalignment, right?
Yes.
Like if it's such a struggle, it might not be the right thing for you. So anyways, it was so easy for me as a vocal coach to create this kind of content. And then, you know, that put Voxtape on the map. Not everyone, but a lot of people wanted to start working with me, and I put together a team. And that's where I was like, okay, you know, this is my full-time gig now. I'm not even going to worry about the whole artistry and all that stuff anymore. Like that's what kind of gave me permission to move away from being an original artist.
Got it. Okay. Yeah.
And right now I don't have the desire to do this again. Like, I mean, I love writing songs and I do it from time to time as, you know, just like, because I like doing it. It's just like as a hobby, you know, and we do songwriting coaching too, because we're really good at it, but it's not what I want to do again. Currently, no desire. Maybe that comes again in the future.
Wouldn't be surprised.
And then we can cross that bridge when we get there. But currently, nope, I'm good.
Okay, let's see. I guess let's talk pedagogy. What's your philosophy of how to teach a student? I notice you mentioned it now, and also I read in some of your materials the importance of really going into like the feeling. I guess on a sensory level or on an emotional level, or what makes you what not even like unique as it, but what describes how you go about the process of teaching, and if that's changed with more experience.
Oh, it's changed a million times. Right? Because like as a vocal coach, you're trying to put together different offers that speak to your audience, but you also want to do it in a way that feels authentic to you and that aligns with what you're trying to do. But basically, after 4.5 years, this is where I've landed. There's 3 parts to my pedagogy and like what we like my system and what we teach at Voxtape Studios, like what our coaches teach as well. So the first step is freedom, vocal freedom, right? Like I said, it's not just about making sure you're not going to run into a vocal injury or develop a vocal injury, but also if you can sing effortlessly, you can learn to sing any notes in any way. That's the goal, right? So that's kind of like the first layer. The second layer is developing your ears, not in the sense for like, match pitch, but more like listen to what other singers are doing, like your favorite artists, and listen for the details. So listen for the different tones that they're using, listen for the different embellishments that they're using, because when you can develop that kind of ear, you can see how much more there is to singing than just hitting the right notes at the right time and sounding good. There's so much more happening, and that developing that skill, just listening and learning those techniques yourself, that skill is what's going to help you sound like you were born to sing. And not like someone who took a couple voice lessons and now they can hit the right notes at the right time and sound decent. It kind of transforms the feedback from, oh, they're really good, to, whoa, who's this? That's what we're looking for. And then the last step is the artistry of it. That's where we take all of these things that you've learned, all of, the foundational techniques, and then also the different tones and the different embellishments. And now we make a decision. What do you want to use, right? Like we first learn through imitation, And
love
then
that.
we learn, not learn, but then we like take what we learned and we define what your sound is. Because a lot of people, they're always like, well, I don't know what my sound is. I can't find it. And I'm like, well, what the hell are you searching for? Like, you don't need to find your sound. You need to define your sound. So that's kind of
like
where confidence comes in, your signature sound comes in, performance comes in, storytelling, emotional connection, the whole artistry side of singing. That's kind of like that last layer. They're all interconnected. It's not like they're completely separate things, but we do build one on top of the other, because you can't do artistry if you ain't got nothing to work with, right? Like if you can't choose how to sing a note because you can only sing it one way, we can't really work on artistry because you can't choose. You got to be able to choose. So, yeah.
I love that.
I would say that's kind of like our pedagogy.
Okay, I love that. I mean, I couldn't agree more about like imitation, and it's like any other musician understands this. Like any other musician is like, oh, I love John Bonham, but I want to do, you know, a Neil Peart thing for this little breakdown, you know, or I love Richie Blackmore. I've practiced his solo, but then for some reason with singing, everybody, like so many people are just like, oh, but I gotta delve into my voice, and it's like,
Yeah.
like, and people literally be like, I need to chain smoke to sound like, you know, Bon Scott or whatever, you know, I need to do heroin to like
Oh my
sing
gosh.
like Kurt Cobain. People say these things. It's unreal, you know?
And you hear a lot of singers out there too who are like, I don't want to take voice lessons because it's going to mess up my signature sound. And I'm like, dude, that is, you got it so backwards. And this is where, like, I get it if you're taking lessons with like a classical voice teacher, because it's completely different from what you're trying to do. But don't take lessons with a classical voice teacher if you don't want to do classical singing. It's a completely different instrument. Like, it's so different. I mean, sure, some things are similar, but most of it is completely different. So
Breath support. I mean, that's
yeah. And you know, it's funny. I was just recording in New York with one of our coaches, Emily, from our team. And one thing that she said really stuck out to me. And she said, it's really not that deep. And I was like, oh, yeah. You know, when it comes to like finding or defining your own sound, because like you said, people are so up in their heads, just like, oh, but you know, I don't want to copy anyone, and oh, I don't know what my sound is, and blah, 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 blah. It's really not that deep. Like, just sing and make some choices. And if you like it, awesome. If you don't, try something else. Like, it's not that deep. And I really liked how she said that. Because we get so in our heads, and singing is like 90% mental, and it can really hold you back if you're just kind of stuck up here.
Yeah. So my channel Voicehead is mostly is about just kind of like finding singers that, you know, I like or are very popular and trying to imitate them. And, you know, I almost feel like I need to do two different channels. One of them is just like, oh, the artists, they're so great. I could never. And then the other one is like, all right, let's give it a shot, you know. But that's the only channel I really want to do. I found I draw less negative comments if I give a little spiel at the beginning, like, I'm not this guy. I'm going to try as a vocal exercise to, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I get that. I've been there, done that, got the t-shirt, you know, just on YouTube, doing vocal coach reacts videos, all of that. And people get so worked up. Like, you know, it's a vocal coach reacts video, meaning I am not going to play the entire video and never pause it and give commentary.
Right.
And people get upset when you
you
pause
get
it
copyright struck if you even do that. You can't, like, you won't be able to put it online.
Exactly. And I'm like, if you just want to see the performance, just go watch the performance. Don't watch a commentary video. Like, you're in the wrong place. It's so hard to please people. But I just I've given up on that.
Which singer has driven the most ire of you'll never be her, blah, blah, blah. Who's the number one singer?
Oh my God.
For like negative commentary.
I don't know.
So curious. No?
I don't know. I don't read my comments anymore. So I remember my very first vocal coach reacts video was the Weeknd's Super Bowl halftime show.
Oh, cool. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
And, you know, that was my very first one. And I had a lot of opinions.
Okay.
And I
Yeah.
let everybody know what my opinions were. And they're like, what are you talking about? You can't do what he does. And la, 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 la. And I'm like, never did I say that I can.
Now, it was one of the opinions that it wasn't necessarily live. Was that one of the opinions? No.
Oh my gosh, I don't even remember. No, I think one of the biggest thing that bothered people was that I said, compared to, other halftime shows, it was really quite boring. Like, I feel like female performers have put on insane shows. And whenever it's a dude performing, it's really kind of not that.
Interesting.
I'm not saying, that guys are not as good as women or anything, but women do have to prove themselves a lot more than guys do in this industry. And I don't care if you don't agree with that. Anyone listening, I'm not saying you. I would say anyone who's listening, if you don't agree with that, that's really just kind of a fact. Because look at how many new female artists there are compared to how many new male artists there are on any given basis. It is a lot harder for females to break into the industry and prove themselves than it is for males.
Okay.
There might also be a lot more competition too amongst females, especially when it comes to singing. So it is, a little bit harder to break in to the industry like that. But, for me, it was mostly just like the performance. I was like, yeah, like Lady Gaga freaking dove off the stadium and like did ridiculously crazy stuff, and there he is just kind of like singing, but he's a fantastic singer, not taking away from that. Fantastic singer. It was just interesting for me to kind of like compare the performances. So anyway, that's kind of what pissed people off, I think.
I mean, it's an interesting thing because, I mean, so much of, some pop music is, interwoven with like being sexy. And then, it's like, what is sexy for, in some way it does seem like the ideal kind of like male is a lot more kind of like stationary and like, I don't have to prove anything. And
kind of like the cool guy, like laid back, whatever.
Something.
Yeah. Maybe. But if you look at Usher, then.
Oh yeah. Well, sure. Yeah.
Because but he says himself like he's a performer, right? Like,
yes.
He's not like a singer. He's a performer, and he loves putting on shows. I love the rollerblades, the roller skates, whatever that thing is called. Did you see that? That was so fun.
Oh God, I don't remember. I'm pretty sure I saw it, but yeah.
It was so cool.
I'm kind of an American apostate. I often don't watch the Super Bowl.
I don't watch it either. I just watch the performance the next day because I don't have cable, so I can't watch it. So I just watch the performance when it's uploaded. That's really all I watch. I don't watch the Super Bowl. I don't even know who's playing, and I don't care. Sorry. Yeah, pretty much agreed. What's your approach to style as a singer? Are there any singers who come in and, they want to do something that is like, I got to pass you off to somebody else. This is just a little bit out of my, or maybe they get to a certain level. It's like, okay, now you can sing, but now to really kind of go all the way deep in style. Like what's your approach to style? Yeah, I love that you're bringing that up because, that was something I initially struggled with when I became a vocal coach, like that imposter syndrome of, especially getting feedback from, or like mean comments on the internet, or like, oh, you can't sing as well as blah, 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 blah. You shouldn't teach people how to sing, right? It's like, okay, but hold on. I don't need to be able to do everything and know everything in order to help somebody else. So for example, if they want to do whistle voice, like Mariah Carey kind of stuff, I'm like, I'm out. Sorry, I can't help you with that. I have zero desire to learn it, and I can't teach you it because I don't know anything about it. So sorry, we gotta find somebody else for that. Now, the cool thing about my studio, Voxtape Studios, is we have different coaches, and they all specialize in different areas of the voice. So if we come across somebody who's like, okay, well, they need more this kind of approach, or they want to lean more into this style, we can place them with the right coach for their needs rather than, me, like kind of like feeding my ego and being like, I can do everything because I can't.
Yes.
So yeah, that's a cool thing about our team. We all put our heads together and we can place the student with the right fit for for them so that they get whatever it is they need. Now, when it comes to, like heavy metal, like distortion kind of stuff, like we can help with, the classic like rock sound, the grit, rasp, growls, that kind of stuff. But when it comes to like heavy metal singing, that's not us. We don't do that. None of our coaches do. We have to get you to somebody else.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Interesting. Let's talk about rasp and vocal distortion stuff real quick. Now, so where would you say that your level of teaching that begins and ends? I mean, I guess you covered it with like rock into heavy metal. But I don't. Do you? What do you say if somebody comes in and they're like pretty inexperienced, and then they're like, kind of two questions. Who would you say is like the raspiest singer that you would be like, oh yeah, we can teach you that?
I mean, anything like Louis Capaldi or Benson Boone or even like Christina Aguilera, like that kind of stuff. Like, yeah, absolutely. We can do that. But when it comes
like Joan
to
Jett,
heavy metal, yeah, we can do that.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah. So if somebody was pretty inexperienced, would you start teaching that stuff right away, or would you have a conversation about like, listen, I want you to develop like a clean singing technique first, and like how proficient would somebody be at like, is that something that you would feel? If so, how much training would you want to give them before you felt comfortable? Like, okay, now we can start grunting and wheezing.
I mean, that really depends on the student, but for me, we got to be able to have a clean sound. If you can't make a clean sound, we have to work on that first, because that's where the norm should be, and not like, because otherwise it's really possible that it comes from an unhealthy place and not a sustainable place, and then we're gonna run into issues pretty quickly. But I'm not gonna be like, we can't look at any sort of distortion at all unless you're already like super advanced. Like, no. At the end of the day, you need to meet the student where they're at. And I'm always trying to find the balance between what they need and what they want to do. Because if we only do things that they need to do, we run the chances of them losing the joy in it, and then they give up on it before they actually get to the thing that they want to do. So, that was kind of the idea behind my pop song exercises too, where I take a popular song and I make a vocal exercise out of it to just kind of bring the fun into vocal training. They're very helpful exercises, but they're also more fun to do than a regular like,
yes,
just like a typical scale or whatever. So yeah, I'm always trying to find the balance there. And if there needs to be a conversation of like, hey, we can't even match pitch yet, we got to start with that before we can get into growls, then I always try and set expectations first and be like, this is where you want to go. I love it. I'd love to support you on that journey. Here are all the things we need to do to get to that place. Are you okay with that? It's gonna take some time. Are you willing to put in, the time and the effort it takes to get to that level? And if they're like, yes, then I'm like, all right, great. We've set expectations. If they're like, no, I just want a quick fix, then I'm like, I'm sorry, we're not the right fit for you. We wish you the best of luck.
Got it. Yep, sounds about right. Let's see. So you've kind of got this incredible community that you've built around Voxtape. Did that come naturally to you? Is there some kind of skill that you developed? Do you guys do like an email list, or I don't know? What are some of the building blocks for building this incredible community around what you do, in addition to the great content you're putting out on YouTube? Do you have like an idea of like the funnel of like top of the funnel and this kind of stuff, or what's let me know.
Yeah, I mean that's the majority of my work is I don't teach much. I run the business and I create friggin' funnels and email marketing and all of the above. That's my job, because the way we do it at Voxtape Studios right now is if you're interested in working with us, that's the first lesson is with me. Everything else is with someone from my team. I don't do any continuous coaching. I don't have the time. I'm running the business and I'm trying to get new clients, new students. That's my job. So, you know, it's like, I can't even really identify as I am a voice teacher and I identify as a voice teacher. But for me, it's like, majority of me is business owner and a small part of me is voice teacher. So yeah, funnels all day long, baby. Hello, Russell Brunson, right? But anyways, so how did I do it? Well, it started with going viral on social media, on TikTok and Instagram. And so, you know, we just had looking back at it now, I'm like, I wish I had all these things in place when I first went viral, because now it would be so much better. Voxtape would be so much, but you learn as you grow, right?
Yeah.
So you know, it is what it is. But we have different things. I host webinars. I'm actually hosting one tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern time.
Oh, awesome.
I'm it's a free class that people can join, and at the end I'll invite them to book a call with me and see if we might be a good fit to work together, and enroll them in the studio if they want to do that. And so, you know, we do that and social media and YouTube and low ticket offers as well. So, you know, like selling something for a couple bucks, like warm-up tracks or checklists and things like that, to just kind of, you know, get that initial trust of like, oh yeah, this is really helpful for me. Maybe I should learn more from these people. And
awesome.
Then, you know, all roads lead to a lesson.
Yes.
Pretty much. Yeah.
You know, actually, that's another thing I want to thank you is you have this like subscription model, and that was such a revelation for me. And that's kind of the main thing that I've been, you know, selling, pushing, whatever, wanting people to do, is that just totally transforms the dynamic of like, you know, just trying to sell one voice class or even like a pack. That it's like, no, this is like a month. Like this isn't about so much, you know, the work during an hour. This is about a commitment over a month or 2 months, or like over a specific amount of time, where I'm going to be super invested in you. You're going to be invested in me. I don't have to chase you around being like, oh, can we get another voice class in? You're going to be like, hey, I got, you know, this much time in my month. Like, let's book. It's way easier for me. The psychology is better. Our interests are like way more aligned. So I didn't even see that as an option. So yeah,
it's better
really.
for everyone involved.
Yes.
It's easier for you because you know what your schedule is going to be like for the next month or however long. And it's also better for the student, because as much as I would love to be a magician and solve all of your problems in one session, it's just not how it works. We're training muscles here, and that takes time.
Yes.
And it takes practice. So I'm really doing you a disservice if I'm charging you God knows how much for a single session, when I could give you a little bit of a bulk discount if you did multiple sessions, because you're going to learn so much more there. And I know that you're going to come back, meaning I don't have to charge you as much per session.
Yes.
So, you know, for us, like I said, we've done many different offers, but right now we do a year. It's a year-long program. And if you want to work with us, you're committing for a year, but you're going to be a very different person and singer by the end of that year. And it's not just one-on-one coaching. It's an entire program all dedicated to helping you make a ton of progress really quickly. So I believe that sprinting is better, like, you know, going for it and really getting after it for a shorter amount of time. And then, you know, doing a couple lessons here and there every so often, like on and off. It's just, you're just not going to get anywhere that way.
100%. So I assume that some of what this prescription includes is modular. In other words, you're giving somebody, I mean, this is something that I struggle with, is I want to create this kind of, like, how great would that be, you know, to proverbially be sitting, you know, drinking Mai Tais and selling my e-learning course. But it's like, I don't feel comfortable as a singer, like turning over everything, especially with something as potentially dangerous as like hard rock. Like if somebody's doing something wrong, like, and they hurt themselves, like I would feel absolutely terrible. So I'm sure you struggle with something similar. So how do you kind of you know, how do you see like working in some type of like controls of like a live human there to make sure somebody's doing something right, with like the, kind of the win-win leverage of having somebody just watch something that you recorded one time, they get all this value out of it. Maybe the production value is even higher because you just shot it the one time and then they can just come back to it. Or how do you kind of, see those two things working together?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of why I initially created Voxtape Studios, because I was like, you're telling me I can sell online courses and I don't have to, like, I create it once and then I never have to do anything again and I can just sell it and make money and sit on the beach sipping Mai Tais like you just said, right? Like, sign me up. Yeah. It's not how that works, but no. Okay. It works for some people, but you're exactly right. With singing, it's a little different. So for we call it the singer to artist transformation program. It's a hybrid program where I have created a ton of online courses and video content and exercise tracks and all of that stuff. So you're getting access to step-by-step pre-recorded videos and audio tracks, in addition to your one-on-one and your group coaching as well. So that way you can basically get all the foundational things on your own time, so that by the time you get to your one-on-one lesson, we don't have to spend 15 minutes explaining what a glottal attack is and how you can eliminate it if you want to eliminate it, right? It's like we can save so much time by you watching that video on your own, because how I'm explaining it is the same every time. So watch the video on your own. And then if you have questions, you let us know. But we get right to applying everything so that we can make more progress more quickly. And with the videos too, it's just great to make sure that all of the foundations are covered, that we don't have any gaps and holes anywhere in your foundation that might catch up with you further down the road, right? So yeah, we have a hybrid.
So would you be able to say what percentage you're comfortable with of like pre-recorded kind of boilerplate versus, live in person, tailored right to the person in front of you? What percentage do you feel comfortable with, or what are you striving for?
I am comfortable with either. Like I am comfortable with even 0% one-on-one contact. We do have online courses and low-level memberships that people can sign up for, and they don't get any personalized feedback. The reason why I am okay with it is because some people don't have the budget for one-on-one coaching. Yeah. And I would rather have them go through a program that's like step by step, rather than just random YouTube videos where they don't know, you don't know what you don't know. You don't know what you need. So if you're at least following a step by step online, on your own, self-paced program, you're at least covering all the things that you need to cover. And that way we can still help people who don't have the budget for one-on-one coaching. Is it better to do one-on-one coaching? Oh yeah, absolutely. But not everyone has the budget for it. Would I prefer, having everybody do one-on-one coaching? Yes. But at the end of the day, I try my best in my pre-recorded content in my online courses to be like, warning, if you're feeling X, don't do it. Yes. All right. Just like, just being like, hey, we gotta feel into it. But at the end of the day, this might sound terrible, but it's not my responsibility what you do with the content that you consume. Because if I have that mindset of I am responsible for this person's vocal health, I can't post stuff on social media for free either, because you don't know what people are doing with it. But I have to just kind of make that separation there. Like, I have put together the best program I possibly can without one-on-one coaching, but it's not my responsibility what the person is going to do with it. If you're doing it the way it is intended, it's gonna help you. But if you either don't do it or you don't really listen to everything I'm saying, then you might run into issues. But So far, that's never happened. I'm sure people would reach out to me if they were like, "You ruined my voice." That's never happened. So
I've had nightmares about something. I never anything to bear that out in reality. Like on the contrary, but yeah, it shows
that you care. It shows that you're a good person, right? And that's awesome. You know, I appreciate that because there's too many people out there who are just in it to make money, and that's just it's great to hear that you care. I care too. But we also have to make that kind of separation if you want to, explore that. If you're like, actually, you know what? I only want to do one-on-one because that's all I feel comfortable with, or only group coaching or masterclass type things or whatever, then that's amazing and just stick to that. Just gonna have to figure out what's right for you, right?
Man, that's so helpful. So thank you, Lara.
Maybe I should become a voice teacher, business coach. Honestly, I've been thinking about this for a really long time. I mean, last year.
I'm a customer.
Let me help you build your offer and attract your students and blah 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 blah. I love doing it because I have so much fun running the business. Like, I mean, not everything is fun, but the majority of it is fun. Yeah. And so I love doing it. And I get a lot of people like you asking me, so how did you do it?
Absolutely.
And how do you think about, like, what do you think about this? And I'm like, well, maybe I need to put together a coaching offer for that. Start a whole other business yet again. Oh my goodness.
You mentioned how many voice training things. We're coming up on an hour, so I'm going to let you go. I know you got a ton of stuff to do. What have you ever done any kind of training module thing besides in the realm of voice teaching?
So to help me as a voice teacher, I did a lot of research just on my own on YouTube, like Justin Stoney, New York Vocal Coaching.
That's my guy.
Kind of like I loved his YouTube channel. I learned so much from it.
I can't afford to train with him anymore.
Really? I've never actually met with him. I should.
I did his voice teacher training program. It's unbelievable. That's like the core of my teaching pedagogy, whatever. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. The voice teacher I'm currently working with as the student, he's my voice teacher, also worked with Justin Stoney. So Justin Stoney's amazing. So I did a lot of his content there. But I learned so much from, just my journey of losing my voice and working with specialists in that field, where I was like, oh my God, I learned so much from it. But I didn't necessarily do like a program.
Yeah.
I hire people who have master's degree in voice pedagogy. Because again, like, I like to surround myself with people who are better than me, and I built a team of amazing singers and vocal coaches. And so for me, it's like, you don't even want to work with me. Let me tell you, I get it. I'm the person that you see on the videos, and I'm happy to help you. But my people who I hired, man, they're freaking rock stars. You want to work with them, trust me.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing how just like eyeballs has replaced like any kind of credential you could ever get? It's just the depths of like personal branding is just mind blowing. Like, people care about that more than, somebody could have a Harvard degree and blah, blah, blah. But somebody else is just like, I got, 1 billion YouTube viewers. Like, who do you actually want to?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's wild.
It's just the perceived expertise, and I mean, I know what I'm talking about. I'm not, right. I'm not just trying to say here, like, I really don't know what I'm talking about. You shouldn't listen to me. I know what I'm talking about. I have a lot of experience with this stuff. Yeah. But I also hire people who are as good as me or better than me and have a different background so that they can help different kinds of singers. And I think that's important.
It was amazing. All right. Last question. What are you most excited about in 2025?
Oh my God. What am I most excited about in 2025? Well, this program, the Singer to Artist Transformation Program, is brand new the way it is now. We soft launched it in November of last year. So, it's brand new, and we have the first couple people going through it and they're loving it. So I'm really excited about building it out more and getting more students to go through it and see their transformations. I would say that's probably what I'm most excited about, this new program.
All right. Amazing. Yeah. Well, thank you, Lara Chapman, for coming on the show. I really appreciate it so much. Where can people find you? Where's the best place to contact you or one of your subordinates?
Well, so everything goes through me, right? So like I don't give out my coach's contact information or anything like that. Everything goes through me first. So you can find me on voxtapestudios.com or at Voxtape Studios on any of these social media platforms like TikTok, Instagram. Instagram is the best place to reach out. Honestly, TikTok messaging sucks. So Instagram, YouTube, at Voxtape Studios, at Voxtape Studios, anywhere. Just send me a message, shoot me an email. Happy to help wherever I can.
All right. Thank you so much again, Lara. Really amazing.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.